Mr. President, last night I introduced Amendment number 388 to ensure that states and local governments are the driving force behind national monument designations. I ask for unanimous consent to add Senator Hatch as a co-sponsor to my amendment.
Without objection.
This is a fair and common sense proposal that I believe members on both sides of the aisle can support. Before major land management decisions are made by the federal government, the people affected most by these designations should have a seat at the table and have their voices heard. So I was confused when I heard the senior senator from Nevada claiming this morning that my amendment would in some way gut or repeal a law providing the ability for national monument designations to take place. That is simply false. In sharp contrast, it is designated to strengthen the law by ensuring that the voice of the people is heard as designations are considered. After all, it's the people that are affected by these decisions, not politicians in Washington. As a fifth-generation Montanan and a lifelong sportsman, I treasure and am committed to protecting our public lands. I deeply appreciate that landmarks like Pompey's Pillar in Montana or Lehman's Cave in Nevada have been protected for future generations. But there's a difference between targeted designations to protect historic landmarks and designating hundreds or even thousands or millions of acres against the will of the states and local residents. The senator from Nevada is saying that Washington, D.C. should have more influence over local land use decisions than the folks in western states who live and work on this land every day. I disagree. I believe that the farmers, the ranchers, the sportsmen, the community members, and the state and local government should have a say in local land decisions. I would remind him that the 1906 Act was designed to prevent damage to specific sites of historical, scientific, or cultural significance. As the law states, and I quote, "the smallest area compatible with the proper care and management of objects to be protected," end quote. The law was not intended to block out access or damage operations of nearby landowners. And the law was not intended to be used as a way for a president, as they're leaving office, to unilaterally make decisions without consulting the states and the local communities. Strengthening the role of locally impacted residents and states is vitally important because, unfortunately, presidents of both parties have also abused the Antiquities Act, designating unjustifiably excessive large-scale pieces of ground through unilateral action despite local opposition and opposition from land users. Let me remind the senator from Nevada of the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument designation. Local residents oppose that designation. And since the monument was designated in 1996, there's been a reduction in grazing. Development of a large coal mine has stopped. Local rural communities are struggling. Wouldn't it have been better to protect the Grand Staircase in a way that also protected local communities? Or look to New Mexico, where the Oregon Mountains Desert Peaks National Monument was designated in 2014 May against the will of local communities. Representative Steve Pierce had a bill to protect 50,000 acres of land, which he worked with local residents and affected communities to implement. That bill was ignored, and the administration instead introduced a monument of 500,000 acres that touches all the way to the Mexican border. And during President Obama's first term, an internal document surfaced from the Interior Department revealing the Obama administration's plans to use the Antiquities Act to designate 14 new national monuments comprising of millions of acres across our country. One of the areas on the list is 2.5 million acres of land across northern Montana, connecting Canada's Grasslands National Park to the Bitter Creek Wilderness Study Area. Right in the middle of this designation are significant swaths of public lands. This potential designation is very contentious in Montana, which I believe Montanans must have a voice in determining whether or not it goes forward. During a recent House Natural Resources Committee hearing, Interior Secretary Sally Jewell confirmed that she wants public input and local input in Antiquities Act designations. So why would anyone oppose elevating state and local input on these designations? Despite the claims made by the senator from Nevada, my amendment will not repeal the Antiquities Act. It's not going to gut the law. It will not repeal existing protections under national parks and national monuments. It will not prevent future designations from being made. My amendment simply ensures that local residents and the states have a meaningful voice in determining monument designations. In 2010, former Interior Secretary Salazar stated during a Senate hearing that the administration would have a conversation and dialogue with people locally and across the country before any monument designations occur. My amendment simply holds this and future administrations accountable to what they said they would do. And it protects the voice of the people in decisions like this. You know, protecting the voice of the people should not offend members of this body. It should be our abiding commitment. It should be our priority.